Check on your batteries. Check. Emergency center. Check. Store up your water. Check. And board up your window. Check. So you got to place it. Check. Before it is too late. Check. Disaster could happen anytime, any place.
Welcome to From Danger to Safety, the official disaster preparedness program from the National Emergency Management Agency, Nema. This show is proudly brought to you by our sponsor, National Caribbean Insurance. Stay with us as we move from danger to safety.
In the sun or in the rain, life's a journey, joy and pain. But NCI's here day and night, always here for you, making it right. Always here for you. With NCI, you've got a friend, always here for you, right here to the very
At National Caribbean Insurance, you are covered and secure. We're your partner, your protector, your peace of mind. So for home, for health, for life, choose NCI because we're always here for you.
Always here for you. With NCI, you've got a friend, always here for you, right here to the very end. Always here for you. With NCI, you've got a friend, always here for you, right here to the very end.
On today's program, we address the invisible but critical injury a disaster leaves behind, the mental and emotional toll. We are joined by two clinical experts who champion this work. Valencia Smithen-Byron, Deputy Director of the National Counselling Center in St. Kitts, and Asha McKie-Smith, Clinical Psychologist from the Psychological Unit in Grenada. Together, they define psychosocial support and explain why it must be integrated into every stage of disaster response, not treated as an afterthought. Mrs. McKie-Smith will share her first-hand experience and the challenges faced while providing support in Grenada after Hurricane Beryl in 2024, giving us an invaluable real-world perspective. We'll cover the long-term mental health issues that can follow a disaster, discuss the priority of providing support to our frontline responders, and work to dispel the lingering misconceptions that prevent people from seeking the help they need. Stay with us as we move from danger to safety.
Good day. I am Valencia Smithen-Byron, a clinical counselor and the Deputy Director of the National Counselling Center, which falls under the umbrella of the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. Psychosocial support is rebuilding those social bonds and restoring a sense of safety. So what would that look like at the community level? Creating safe spaces for children to normalize what happened, normalize their lives. Also community gatherings, and even re-establishing the healthy routines so that this would reduce isolation and strengthen coping. The whole objective of psychosocial support is to remind people that they are not alone on this journey of recovery, and that this shared resilience can move the community together through the healing. Even after homes are rebuilt, the psychological wounds still linger, such as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and even substance use issues. Families, they may become strained because of the mounting financial pressures, as well as the roles in the families may change. Again, the emotional tension would rise within the families. Parents themselves would struggle to maintain that stability in the homes because they themselves are trying to process and cope with the trauma that they have experienced. Children, they would feel neglected and even fearful, and we see the communication within the family start to break down. Now, the community would realize the tension as it rises because conflict would rise in the families. Detachment, of course, will happen in the families, and the family will start breaking down. That is why mental health should be included in any disaster response plan, not only focusing on the recovery, the physical recovery, but also touching the mental health issues as well. In small islands like ours, disaster hit close to home, both literally and emotionally. Even if we are not directly affected, the sense of grief and fear weigh heavily on the communities because they are closely connected. Take, for example, in the latter part of 2024, we had a vehicle accident that occurred on the outskirts of the community of Sandy Point. This was very tragic. Several persons lost their lives. And we had this sense of grief, anxiety, and survivor's guilt rippling through the Federation. Added to that, during disasters, we are normally exposed to repeated distressing news. This too can worsen stress, sleep difficulties, as well as the feeling of helplessness. So we are impacted directly or indirectly because we are a close-knit community. First responders, they face unique mental health challenges, mainly because of the demands of their job, and also the repeated exposure to trauma. Over time, this may lead to stress, burnout, and secondary and vicarious trauma because of the emotional weight that they carry. So therefore, they will need some support. And this can be gained through counseling, peer groups, training in stress management, and of course, regular rest. Once these persons are taken care of, they build their own resilience and they'll be able to take care of others effectively. Yes, despite growing awareness, there are still some lingering misconceptions about accessing mental health services. Many people still feel and think that seeking help is a sign of weakness, or, sorry for the use of the word, crazy. This is a myth, because in reality, seeking help is a sign of strength. And that is why it is so important for mental health to be incorporated into every disaster response plan so that we can normalize emotional care, which goes alongside of the physical preparation. And this, of course, is going to build the community's strength, build resilience, and also make mental health support more accessible and effective.
So my name is Asha McKie-Smith, and I am a counselor, clinical counselor at the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs in Grenada, and I'm from the Psychosocial Support Unit. So for me, my experience at Hurricane Beryl's recovery in Carriacou, it brought me back to my personal experience in Hurricane Ivan in 2004. It was just the physical outlook of the place. It was sad, to see persons without a roof on their homes, and also the stories of the individuals. It brought it back to home. It was sad, and seeing persons in those states. Imagine a person who is retiring, and then all of a sudden they had lost everything, and there was no hope. What was next for that person? So that for me created a big story, and it made me very sad, as I said. My role in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl was to help persons to process their emotions and also to prevent long-term effects of trauma, because that is what really persons experience after such an event. So it's really to help persons process, give psychosocial support to both adults and children at that time. My job really entails helping persons to process emotionally, right? How they think, how they feel, their behavior, as well at the same time the social aspects of culture, our everyday living in society. So it was important because it will help persons in the long term, right? So in trauma, when it's just started, persons may not be affected. But some, they're just resilient, no problems. But there are others afterwards, if it's not processed properly, they have long-term mental illnesses. So as a result, it was important to have that, immediately. And sometimes just simply providing the basics for persons, and directing them to the things that are available. Because, after a hurricane, in terms of food, clothing, shelter, those basic necessities are very important for persons, and that will give them a sense of, a sense of resilience, and they're able to, get back to a normal functioning selves. I think we were able to see the impact, and that came from the persons who spoke of, and also requesting our services. So at first, people were a bit standoffish, because of the taboo of mental health, but we did see persons requesting our services, calling in, coming to the shelters, not the shelters, where we had various activities there to help the persons. So yes. So for us, I think one of the major challenges was transportation. Of course, in such a disaster, there wasn't much transport, so we had to walk. So it was we were burnt out, and we were not able to reach the amount of persons that we would have liked to reach. Another factor would be persons not understanding the importance of, the psychosocial mental health intervention in the early stages, because without that, it will have long-term effects on individuals. So it was important. We needed to do that at that time so that persons would be helped, and not have, and also the resources are very limited. So if we are able to do that, it will help us as the professionals. Lessons learned, I think one of it is to educate not only the citizens, but also the persons who are involved in the emergency relief. They were not understanding what's the importance of having mental health and psychosocial support. So I think that is one of the important lessons learned. Also, having a plan in advance so that if something like that happens, what's next, what's first. And also being able to not help yourself, but ensuring that your family is taken care of. Have a plan for your family so that in the event of that, I have to go, because persons had to just leave families and go to this space. So all of those were lessons learned. So in terms of tips, we often prepare in terms of our basic necessities, in terms of water, food, shelter, those things. But we often forget how do we prepare, because some of us have anxiety and so on. We start, our fears start increasing, and we show some signs, have palpitations, and we're not able to function. So being able to get your medications early, knowing what to do, how do you calm yourself in such an event, just doing some deep breaths and having a plan. That's it, having a plan so that you're able to function, whether it's before, during, and after, so you'll be resilient overall at the end.
That concludes this episode of From Danger to Safety. We extend our profound gratitude to our guests, Valencia Smithen-Byron from the National Counselling Center in St. Kitts, and Asha McKie-Smith, clinical psychologist from the Psychological Unit in Grenada, for their expertise on the importance of prioritizing psychosocial support for our communities and our first responders. Their message is clear: mental health is just as essential to recovery as rebuilding physical structures. A special thank you to our sponsor, National Caribbean Insurance, for making this program possible. The program is aired every Tuesday at 1 p.m. on Ziz Radio with a rebroadcast on television at 8 p.m. It will also be available on Nema's YouTube channel and Facebook page. For more information on disaster preparedness, follow us on our social media channels. Join us again next time as we continue to help you move from danger to safety.
So you got to play safe before it is too late. Disaster could happen anytime, any place. In the sun or in the rain, life's a journey, joy and pain. But NCI's here day and night, always here for you, making it right. Always here for you. With NCI, you've got a friend, always here for you, right here till the very
At National
end.
Caribbean Insurance, you are covered and secure. We're your partner, your protector, your peace of mind. So for home, for health, for life, choose NCI because we're always here for you. Always.
Always here for you. With NCI, you've got a friend, always here for you, right here till the very end. Always here for